Hi, you're listening to The Island of a Lost Pilot by Rajesh Bhatia, narrated by Deepak Agnihotri. Chapter 31. Back to Home. 15 minutes after the midnight, Shekhar and Rohan came out of the airport building of Indira Gandhi International Airport at New Delhi. Rohan inhaled a long breath of the cool air and exclaimed, "Finally, at the motherland, after so much struggle and adventure. Time flies." It was difficult to pass the time of the struggle a few days back. Now, as somehow we have passed that time, it seems that it never had existed, and it was only a dream we had seen, remarked Shekhar. The days of adventure were better. It seems that I will have to live a boring life here. I will have to study engineering and then join our company, said Rohan sadly. Only God knows what may happen next. You may have adventure here also. Mr. Shekhar! A voice called from behind. Shekhar turned and found a burly man in his late 30s with his right hand extended. Yes, I'm Shekhar, but I'm unable to recognize you. Shekhar held his hand and felt the strong grip. I'm Inspector Chauhan, and I'm here to arrest you for the murder of Mr. Sudhir Saxena. You are mistaken, Inspector. I don't want to hide it from you that I have travelled by using the passport of Mr. Sudhir Saxena, but that was with his permission, and I have paid him 2 lakh rupees for it. Why I have used his passport can be easily explained. It was an emergency and had no other option. When I was able to borrow his passport, why will I murder him? What was my motive? We have now understood the motive. We have found the body of Mr. Sudhir Saxena at his flat on the morning of the 23rd March. We have found your name in the visitor's book. We got an anonymous call that you have stolen the passport of Mr. Sudhir Saxena and using it to visit Hong Kong. The security guard had recognized your photograph and your car. We have found the murder weapon under the seat adjoining the driver's seat of your car. Since the condition of your wife was critical, your son was missing. We didn't have full proofs against you, and also you were out of the country. We were unable to take any step, but to wait for your return. We could not take the risk of hinting your wife and daughter about your crime, because we wanted you to come back. If you had known that the police are after you, you could have run away or never had returned. Now, as you have used this passport, we have full proof and your motive for this murder. In the love of your son, you were so desperate that you had to kill Mr. Saxena to get hold of his passport? Dear Inspector, you are mistaken. I have never met Mr. Sudhir Saxena in my life. It is true that I had gone to his apartment in my car and entered my name in the visitor's register, but it was Mr. Malhotra who had accompanied and asked me to do so, and he was listening to a telephone call at that time. I waited in the car in the parking lot, and it was Mr. Malhotra who had gone to meet Mr. Saxena and pay him the 2 lakh rupees I had given to him. I don't know all that. My duty is to prepare the case and present you in the court. You will have to put your case in front of the court. But Inspector, you can't arrest me like this. I can, and I will. The inspector waved a hand, and 4 strong men from nowhere appeared at the scene. Shekhar was handcuffed and taken to the parked police jeep. Rohan was behind them and was pleading to the inspector. Ultimately, he also got a lift in the jeep. Their baggage was thrown in the rear and the jeep was taken to the Connaught Place police station. The body of Sudhir Saxena, 43, was discovered on Sunday, the 23rd March, by his maid, who came to work at 10 a.m. The post-mortem on the body revealed that he had died 16 to 20 hours before the body was found. Mr. Saxena lived there alone, as his wife has deserted him 2 months back and taken his 15-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter along with her. The police had talked to his wife, who had reluctantly told that her husband had an extramarital affair, and therefore she had left him. But now both had patched up because of the future of their children, and she was about to go back to him after 2 or 3 days. Any motive on her part was stricken off. Shekhar had the most appropriate motive. In order to get the passport forcefully for the life of his son, the murder committed was reasonable. The police had this line in their mindset, and the officers didn't want to leave this line of thought. With a lot of persuasion and pleading, the inspector ultimately agreed to take the statement of the travel agent, Mr. Malhotra. Malhotra was called, who identified Shekhar. Between sobbing and crying, he informed that Sudhir Saxena was his friend for 10 years, and it was his fault that he casually told Shekhar that he resembled Sudhir Saxena to a very great extent. Yes, upon the request of Shekhar, he had persuaded Saxena to let Shekhar use his passport. Saxena wanted 5 lakh rupees, and ultimately the deal was struck in 2 lakh. He said that he had accompanied Shekhar to pay the money to Saxena. It was also true that he was the last person to see Saxena alive, and Shekhar, being a humble and good fellow, had nothing to do with the murder. It had to be someone else who was involved. Malhotra was helpful and was ready to swear in the court for the innocence of Shekhar. "So, Mr. Shekhar," said the inspector, "Mr. Malhotra is all praise for you, but we are not pleased. You will have to show sufficient proof against me. We have a perfect case. Without proof, we would not have arrested you." "What are the proofs then?" asked Shekhar sarcastically. "You had the motive. You wanted the passport." "I paid the money and had the passport. Mr. Malhotra verifies this. We have found the murder weapon, a gun, from your car." "Can't you see, Inspector, if I had murdered him, I would have taken every precaution to throw the gun away? Why I will let it remain in my car? It was surely planted there." To throw a gun away was an old technique. Nowadays, the murderers are clever. They retain the gun for the police to find it, and then they say that if they had committed the murder, why will they keep the murder weapon? They do it to keep the suspicion away from them. In your case, it could be negligence on your part, as you were so engrossed in your son that you forgot to get rid of it. Fingerprints then? Obviously, no fingerprints. In fact, there are no strange fingerprints in that apartment. Besides, we found a glove along with the gun in your car. But once when I have come out of the apartment's main gate and he was alive, as Mr. Malhotra says, how can you prove that I again went there? What was the reason of my going back again when I had the passport with me? That is a secret I am not going to tell you. I will produce this proof in front of the court, smiled the inspector. Shekhar was thoughtful for some time and said, "Can you tell me, Inspector, if the house was burgled? Whether the 2 lakh rupees were there?" "The house was not burgled. A lot of money and jewelry was there in the safe. But Saxena was stripped of all the money and the jewelry he had on him. His wallet was empty. His chain, expensive watch, rings and gold bracelet were all taken, along with the 2 lakh you had mentioned. The entry of the murderer was friendly." Shekhar looked at Rohan desperately and asked, "Inspector, can I have a word with my son?" The inspector agreed, and Shekhar took Rohan to a corner. "Rohan, I think it's a conspiracy against me, and I have been made a scapegoat. I'm unable to think who is behind all this." "What about the role of Malhotra?" "The role of Malhotra is doubtful, I agree. He misguided me regarding visa for Philippines. It was he who sent me to Hong Kong on Saxena's passport, but it may be for the money. I was desperate, and this way he was able to extract money from me. Although he was perhaps the last man who had seen Saxena alive, why police is not after him is not understandable." "The surprise evidence, then, the inspector was talking about? That must be it. But what is it they won't tell? It means I have some strong proof against me." "Dad, I'm surprised at this welcome in our own country. Just think of the honor in Hong Kong. We are culprits in our own country. The PDEA chief consulted you in all respects, while Mr. Chauhan, merely an inspector, won't confide in you. It is so insulting, when all the times we did everything for the honor of our own country." Shekhar thought for some time and said, "Rohan, I have an idea. The inspector won't listen to our requests, but he will certainly listen to someone very superior to him. You contact Mr. D. Singh and request him for his help. Ask him to persuade his boss to call the police commissioner of Delhi or some other person of a very high rank here. who in turn will press this inspector to take more pains to find the truth. Meanwhile, I will think over it." Rohan came out of the police station and checked the time, 4:30 a.m. The time in Hong Kong will be 7 a.m. It was early to call D. Singh, but still he made the call thinking about the sweet relationship with Mr. D. Singh and about his father pacing restlessly behind the bar. Mr. D. Singh didn't receive the call. Rohan tried again. Again the same result. All the odds are against us, he thought, and stopped the taxi. He was thinking about all the events when Mr. D. Singh called and asked if everything was all right. Rohan explained him the strange happenings. Mr. Singh listened patiently and assured him that he will do his level best to help him. Rohan reached home. Everyone was pleased to see him, but surprised at Shekhar's arrest. Ritu cried aloud. Surekha complained God about his unjustly acts. Previously Rohan and now this. Rohan answered all the questions asked by his mother, sister, and some neighbors present. One of the neighbors, who used to spend 3 hours a day studying different newspapers, brought a copy of the Times of India in which a small paragraph was written about Mr. Walker's party in Hong Kong. A few lines were mentioned how the top officials had praised Shekhar and Rohan. Rohan took a bath, changed clothes, and made a call to Shreya informing her that he had returned safely, but Dad was in trouble and he will meet her when his dad is freed. Rohan was again at the police station at 11 a.m. but was not allowed to meet Shekhar. He sat on a bench outside the inspector's office and waited restlessly. His phone rang. It was D. Singh. Rohan came out in the open and received the call. Mr. D. Singh spoke. "Rohan, I have arranged for everything. The ambassador has himself spoken to the Commissioner of Police of Delhi and informed him that their police force was blindly arresting innocent persons. He had emailed the videos and newspaper cuttings regarding the honoring of Mr. Shekhar. He had scolded the police force, saying that a person like Mr. Shekhar, who had helped the Philippines and Hong Kong governments to nab notorious culprits of the drug trade, had raised the honor of our country by doing so, had brought Ryan and you back bravely, had a warm party in his honor, has had so many appreciation, is arrested in his own country without proper investigation. The commissioner has felt sorry for the mistake of their police force, and within no time your dad will be released." Rohan thanked him and went inside. A constable came searching for him, and he was ushered to the office of Inspector Chauhan. Shekhar was seated opposite to the inspector, not in a pleased mood, as he was rudely interrogated. Though not manhandled, but a decent and law-abiding citizen, Shekhar disliked this first experience of his life. A cup of tea and a plate of biscuits were placed untouched in front of him. "I am sorry, sir. You should have told me that you had so much high contacts. The Commissioner of Police himself had telephoned me to release you immediately and restart my investigation from some other angle. He had insisted that you should be the last person to be arrested, and I was to gather much more proofs against you." Rohan's phone rang. It was the police commissioner, and he wanted to speak to Shekhar. The commissioner felt sorry and informed Shekhar that he was free to go and advised him to cooperate with the inspector to clear the issue. He had instructed the inspector also the same way. "We are doing our duty, sir. We had to solve the crime, and you had all the odds against you," the inspector said. He was flattering Shekhar so that the latter should forget whatever grudge he had against him. "It is all right, Inspector. The commissioner had advised me to cooperate with you, but I had seen that you were not willing to cooperate. I want the truth, if there is any, and I assure you that if you plead guilty, a good lawyer will help you in getting the minimum of imprisonment." "What you talk is nonsense, Inspector. I want you to believe that I have nothing to do with the murder of Saxena. I want to advise you that once you will be convinced of my innocence, you will start thinking about this case from a new angle. If you can tell me about some more details related to this case, I'm sure that I will be of useful help to you." "Okay, what do you want to ask?" "I want to know how you came across my name related to this murder." "We had received an anonymous tip. We were not able to get any clue for 3 days. We got one call and were informed that you were traveling to Hong Kong on the passport of Saxena, and for that you could have murdered him." "There you are. Have you tried to locate the identity of that person? How in this world he could have known it unless he was the murderer? The inspector was uneasy. He had not thought about it, and he cursed himself for it. A good lawyer could have busted his theory. He said that he had located the call, but had only found that it was a call from one of the so many public booths located at New Delhi railway station. It could have been an informer. The inspector thought of an excuse. Where is he then? Informers don't give anonymous tips. They come to the front as they need the reward money. Suppose he is a person other than an informer who has seen you murdering Saxena and is giving us anonymous tip, as he does not want to get involved in all the court proceedings. Such flimsy reasons won't work in the court, you know, Inspector. You were talking of some concrete evidence. What's that? We have traced your phone calls, and the inspector spoke slowly and looked from Shekhar to Rohan to feel sure that both were listening seriously. We have found that you were the last person to speak to Saxena. I was the last person to speak to Saxena? What rubbish are you talking, Inspector? Shekhar could not believe the allegation and said, I swear that I have never met or spoken to him in my life. You are completely mistaken. The inspector smiled and opened his drawer. He took out a few sheets, selected one and handed it to Shekhar. The sheet contained the call details of Shekhar's mobile number. All the calls made and received were printed along with the time and time duration of the calls. As the incoming calls were not mentioned in the regular bill because they are free calls, this was a sheet sent by the Airtel authorities on the special request of the police. A number was circled. This was the number of Mr. Sudhir Saxena. This was a call from him at 4:08 p.m. on 22nd March, and the call duration was 50 seconds. Are you sure that this is the number of Mr. Saxena? Asked a baffled Shekhar. As sure as the nose on your face, sir. What do you make of this call? That Mr. Saxena was not satisfied with the deal and he wanted more money, or his conscience did not allow him to give his passport to you, as it was a crime and he wanted it back. Therefore he called you immediately after you left. That you went again inside, somehow undetected by the guard, had a quarrel with him, shot him and ran away with his money, gold jewelry and watch. You do have a good case against me, Shekhar agreed and continued. Now, if I am innocent, what you are going to do? Mr. Shekhar, you may go now. We will think over this case again and will try to gather more evidence. It means I am still not in the clear. Can we sit together and combine our brains to solve this case? Don't underestimate us. We don't need your help. The inspector was a bit sarcastic. The scornful voice of the commissioner was still echoing in his head.